are you doing this week?
I don't know.
Are you feeling better?
No. April is still not over.
Well, yes, it is, according to our listeners.
Oh, well, if you're listening to this in May, then April is over. But for me, April is not over yet.
Because we're in the past.
We are in
currently.
the past.
Yeah. Not just metaphorically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Monday was a full moon.
Oh, full moon.
And so
you like those
Sunday,
things, full moons.
I do like the full moon,
Yeah.
So Sunday night, I stayed up really late and I made everyone donuts. But not just any donuts.
Yes.
I'm talking about vegan Boston cream donuts.
Vegan Boston cream donuts,
and jelly-filled ones.
Yes.
Which you all said was really good, but you guys are the kind of guys that would just like, hork it down and then be like, that was really good.
I am not.
And well,
I am 100% not that kind of guy. We've had lots of fights about food because of the fact that I am not that guy, because I'm like, no. Why can't you just make it the same as last time?
You seasoned it.
You seasoned it differently. Right? Like, no, they were incredible.
Okay.
Best donuts ever.
Anyways.
Best donuts ever. I'm not blowing smoke.
Okay.
Not blowing smoke. I am telling you the absolute truth. I had 2 of them.
Oh, so cheated.
Well, it's not really a cheat on the diet because I still didn't break my calories for the day, but the fact that I was willing to eat 2 of those and wanted to eat 2 of those should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyways.
I have been thinking about them a lot this week.
Well, I feel like it's going to be a long time before I try again. Like, that was my first attempt ever to make that kind of donut.
Right.
I've made like the other kind of donuts before, like that already have the whole, like you have a donut pan and
your standard donut.
Yeah, you pipe in the donut. But this is my first time ever like frying a donut and then cutting a hole in it and filling it with, a custard or a jelly. And
here's the thing about Boston cream donuts is they are way too sweet, right? Like they're just over the top, crazy sweet, right?
Yeah.
These ones weren't crazy sweet, right? And I'm not eating sugar, like except for like sugar that's already in things, fruit and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not eating added sugar items. And so I'm really sensitive to sugar overload at this point.
Yeah.
And I ate those 2 donuts and did not have a sugar rush at all.
Yeah, I didn't put a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah, you said, what did you say? It was like a third of a cup for the whole batch of donuts?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were delicious. They were absolutely delicious. You nailed the custard. You nailed the glaze on top. You nailed the donut texture and size. And the shapes weren't perfect, but I mean, you're making them at home, not with a machine. Right?
Yeah.
They were delicious. They were amazing. About the full moon, I heard this thing. I don't know if it's true. I haven't done my due diligence and science checks, but I heard that you never see the other side of the moon from where you are. It's always the same side of the moon.
Well, yeah, unless you unless you move or something, you'll see a different version, right? Or like
move to a different place or just move physically like a couple feet over?
Move to a different place. Like if you move to, I don't know, if you move to a different state, wouldn't you see a different
I don't know.
Aspect
of
the moon? I don't know.
I just heard that the face of the moon facing the earth doesn't ever change.
Because we're revolving around the sun with the moon, right?
Like we're not revolving around the moon, yeah.
Right. It's our moon, so we'll always, that's a creepy way to look at it.
Yeah, it's revolving around us. Isn't that weird? I don't know if it's true, but it sounded neat.
Well, it makes sense because I've always seen the man in the moon and that's never changed.
Yeah, I feel like ever since I was a kid, it's always looked exactly the same.
Yeah, and we've lived in different parts of the country. And
we've lived all the different parts of the country. The only region we haven't lived in is the Far East, right?
The Far East. The Eastern, the
Eastern Seaboard, is what it's called, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't lived over there.
And I guess we haven't lived in, well, would you count, Florida is its own region. We haven't lived in Florida either.
Florida can...
the Florida at some point will just break off and float and be an island, right?
I mean, yeah, probably.
It's just its own place.
I don't know.
It's just its own place. It has its own kind of man, Florida man.
I don't know.
Florida man is a cryptid at this point, right?
No, but a Tennessee wild man is.
Oh.
Yeah, I was informed of that the other day by our kid. He's like, he found me a map of the United States and all the cryptids that are around or have been sighted. And I'm like, that's weird. And he's like, oh, but Tennessee has one and it's a wild man. I'm like, that's just your dad. He's like, no, he's like really hairy. And I'm like, yeah, that's your dad. Like someone just saw your dad out hiking.
Wait,
and
so is Tennessee wild man just a version of Bigfoot?
Yes, I think so. I think that's the thing. But there's like all kinds of ones that I haven't heard of yet. And so we'll have to talk about those on a different episode.
I am starting to look like a cryptid, but I think I'm approaching my final form. So
you're evolving into your final form.
Evolving. Soon I will just grow a pair of overalls. I'll just grow them.
You'll just grow them.
Yeah, if Mortal Kombat I can grow a shirt, then my power is a pair of overalls, not blood splatter, but paint splattered.
If that's a legit superpower.
No. Let's just cut to the chase on here's our Mortal Kombat review. We're not going to do a whole episode on it. Here's the Mortal Kombat review. Growing a shirt is not a superpower.
All right. I get what you're I get it.
I'm sorry. I grew up on Mortal Kombat. I played it in the arcade, played it on all the consoles.
Yeah.
I drove from Cottonwood, Arizona to Flagstaff, Arizona. It's a 2-hour drive, one way, to buy a copy of Mortal Kombat 2.
Did you go up the switchbacks?
Yes.
Ugh.
And back down them.
Ugh.
So 4-hour round trip to buy a copy of a video game that I could have waited 1 extra month and it would have come to the Walmart in town.
It was such a small town. It takes a while.
But this is the kind of person I am, right? And I bought it. It was on the Super Nintendo. I bought a special controller for it so it could feel more like the arcade. And I got home and I just played the shit out of that game. I spent an entire paycheck from the arcade on the arcade game, Mortal Kombat 2.
Okay. My next question.
Yeah.
Don't be insulted. But my next question is, how old were you?
When Mortal Kombat 1 came out, I was still in high school. I think I was a freshman. I don't remember the exact year that game came out. But Mortal Kombat 2, I was still living in Sonoma, so I was under 18. I think 17 years old.
And so someone at work was saying, like, what console did Mortal Kombat come out on first? And you're like, console?
Oh, yeah, there was a discussion about it. And yeah, everybody at work is much younger. So, arcades weren't a thing for most of the people that I work with. They were defunct by the time they were old enough to care.
Yeah.
But consoles were a thing when they were kids, right? And they have distinct memories of like Sega Genesis and Nintendo.
Which is what I played it on. Like, I'm not that much younger than you. And even in all the places that I've ever lived, there's only been like one arcade place.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
And then that closed down real quick because that didn't make hardly any money. But Sega Genesis was like one of the first consoles I ever remember hearing about, and then Super Nintendo was a thing.
Yeah.
But even I'm only a few years younger than you, and arcades weren't a thing for me.
But a lot of stuff happens in 5 years, right?
Yeah, I guess. And you did live in a bigger state and a bigger city and stuff too.
Yeah, but I also think that arcades were starting to go out of fashion in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember when I worked at the mini golf course / arcade after high school that it was just not doing well.
Yeah.
Right. The mini golf part was doing all right, but the arcade part, they were getting less and less new machines. The machines they did have weren't really getting played that much.
Is it because of consoles?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Consoles killed the arcade. Oh. For sure killed the arcade. Because why go and dump a bunch of quarters? I mean, when we were kids, like when the Nintendo was announced, we're like, can you imagine being able to play a game as long as you want? Without ever having to put a quarter in? It was like mind blowing. And we didn't even care that the graphics weren't as good, right? It was just being able to play at home without having to put in a quarter. Like that was a dream before consoles, was like, get your own arcade machine and you can turn the quarters off and then you can just play it.
Oh yeah. Wow. See, something like that doesn't even register sometimes, especially with younger people, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they were a big thing when I was a kid, but I think consoles completely destroyed that market. I mean, I wouldn't mind having like an actual arcade cabinet of Mortal Kombat 2, just as a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
But we don't have room for that. But if we had room for it, like maybe in the Longhouse, we'll put one in the Longhouse.
Yeah, there you go.
What's
your favorite game of all time that you ever played on the arcade?
Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, really?
In the arcade.
Oh,
yeah.
And there you go.
Well, maybe tied with NBA Jam.
Oh.
I played a lot of NBA Jam in the arcade too. And NBA Jam was being made by the same company, Midway.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having NBA Jam as an arcade cabinet too. I wonder how much those things cost.
Lots.
Googling eBay. I bet you they're not that bad.
Really?
Yeah, I bet you they're not that expensive. I mean, it would depend, I guess, on how many existed in the wild.
Yeah.
You know, and that the demand for them, that's gonna depend, right? Like Netrunner went out of print. Most of the early stuff, the original pieces of that, you can find fairly cheap because they kept printing those things while the game was going on. But the last couple of expansions that came out for the game never got a reprint. So the only thing that exists is that initial print run.
Yeah.
So now on eBay, those things are like going for $1,000 because there's like only a couple 100,000 of them in the world, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the original ones, there's 1 million copies.
Right.
Those numbers are not real, but you get what I'm saying. There's a very small amount and a high demand for the later stuff, and a large amount and the same demand for the earlier stuff. So it just goes cheaper.
Yeah. And everything is like cyclical, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a very big possibility that at some point Netrunner comes back as a game from a different publisher, right? Because it originally came out in the 90s from Wizards of the Coast. Didn't do too well compared to Magic the Gathering, a competing game that they were publishing as well.
Yeah.
So they dropped it, and then in 2012, a lot of years later,
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight picked it up, and they had a good 6-year run, lost the license, and now it's gone again.
Yeah.
But it's too good of a game. The system is too good, right? The theme applied to it is inconsequential, right?
Yeah.
The world applied to it. So somebody will pick it up at some point, and it'll have a whole new revival.
Revival. Yeah.
I started to say revolution, and I'm like, no, I don't think that's right.
I guess it's a time of revolution now, but
I was trying to say, I was talking to somebody earlier, I was trying to say introvert, and I accidentally said introspection. I go, you can really tell when a person's introverted. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's not.
I'd rather get words mixed up than forget them entirely. I hate when I forget words entirely.
Right. And then you're like, you're laying there 2 years later and you're like, that was the word. That was the word.
Yeah. When I forget it entirely, it scares me. Yeah. When I just say the wrong word, that's not as scary.
Yeah. Now for a commercial break.
Because when I say the wrong word, I can go, oh, I'm just thinking too fast.
Right.
I got the two words mixed up. But when I forget the word, I'm like, now my brain's not functioning anymore.
Now enter like a memory pill or something.
Oh, you want to do a commercial for a memory pill?
I have Cameron on a jingle. I made it part of his homework. I'm like, I want a jingle by Thursday. Let's go.
Are you having trouble remembering things? Are you mixing words up?
I do.
Do you?
Do. I don't remember them till 2 years later.
Would you like help with them?
I absolutely would.
It's called Dictionaria by Nexus.
But doesn't it have a bunch of weird side effects?
Yes, learning.
My God.
And a larger vocabulary. Some takers of Dictionaria will experience a larger vocabulary.
Don't take Dictionaria when you're.
Don't take Dictionaria if you don't want to become smarter.
Or when you're menstruating.
Be nicer at parties. When you're menstruating, what does that have to do with it?
You're just frustrated. You just.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't take medication while I was menstruating unless I was taking medication for menstruating.
So do you think? Is that your general mood then during that period of time? No pun intended. Is frustration?
For me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I can tell you're like on edge.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that it's just frustration. Is it frustration that it even happens?
Yes.
Or frustration at the pain.
Well, I don't have so much pain anymore now that we're vegan.
Right.
And I know that's weird to say, but before, when I was younger, I had terrible like symptoms and pain and all sorts of stuff. But since I cut out dairy and I cut out like any animal products whatsoever,
Right.
I don't have as much like cramping and stuff. I have fatigue and I have irritable.
Frustration.
Yeah, I just wake up frustrated, frustrated that I have to do it at all, frustrated. And it gets more compounded now that we have a little girl that I'm going to have to teach her that all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't wish that on a lot of people. Like I don't, and I definitely don't wish it on her poor little body. That's going to be bad.
It's part of nature though, right? Like it's not, we can frame it. You can frame it for her as like a positive thing.
Yeah. And I want to do that. I really do.
Yeah. Make it not scary. Make it not have a bad memory.
It was all those things for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's not cool. But I want to like have a period party for her and all those, cute things that girls do now.
It's literally a monthly reminder of that trauma that you experienced when you first had it because nobody was supportive, right?
Yeah. And like all the times I had it while trying, I got my very first one 2 days before I started my freshman year of high school. And so you have to learn how to navigate that and go to high school and be a person and try to act normal, like,
right.
And, not too much detail, but, there are certain things that hide it better than other things. But if the people in charge of you or your grown-ups don't help you with that, you're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
And so it's like, here, sink or swim. And you're like, I'll just move. I'll just move to Sweden. And I guarantee they handle it better than we do here. And I'll just become a different person because it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah. There shouldn't be embarrassment.
It should be empowering and like,
yeah. And you shouldn't have to figure it out on your own. What's that about?
I wasn't raised by a village, I was raised by one person who didn't want to be a mom.
Dealing with their own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't. And it's not, I've learned to forgive and I've learned to like, it's okay because if I'm struggling, there was no way that she was handling it nicely. So I have to forgive for that part of it, but it's at the same time, it still stings.
Well, it doesn't take the trauma away.
No. And
it doesn't take those memories away.
There wasn't anybody else around. They made sure that nobody else was around. And so it was just them in charge of me. And it didn't go well. I wasn't good for them and vice versa.
I think you can forgive somebody in your heart for whatever they've done.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse.
It doesn't necessarily excuse. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what forgiveness is right? Excusing their behavior. But it doesn't necessarily take away that it happened at all.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't change that.
It doesn't change the way I feel.
Right. It doesn't change that you went through that traumatic experience and that it shaped your future. Mm-hmm. I've forgiven people from my past that have done just terrible things to me, but it didn't take away those things they did.
Yeah.
Right. There wasn't any relief really. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. I don't feel better about it. I just have to like surrender to it now. And that's the hardest part of
I think it takes away your obligation to the thing.
Yeah.
The forgiveness, right? But it doesn't change that thing happened or
That's true.
that it shaped you in some way.
Absolutely.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready for these allergies to be over.
Cool.
I've never had allergies in my life.
Oh, I read this quote
until
today.
This year.
I read this quote today, not the quote of the week, but that the reason why people are getting worse allergies as time goes on is because climate change is so hard on the planet. The plants are like, oh shit, we need to protect ourselves. So they're releasing more pollen than they ever have before.
Well, I was doing just fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now I sound like this and I just don't like it.
Well, it sounds like you're like, oh, Busta.
I just can't. It's just a thing in the back of my throat.
I was a showgirl in Vegas, Busta. You gotta listen to me, Busta.
It's terrible.
Well, it's just going to get worse. And so now I'm starting to think, I used to have money on robot apocalypse, right?
But now it's the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
It's pollen apocalypse now.
Yeah.
No, I don't think the plants are going to attack us. I think that, not intentionally at least, I think that the pollen that they're releasing in order to survive themselves is going to start to affect us much more harshly than it has in the past.
That's awful.
Also, we're in a really unfortunate that we live in Memphis, because Memphis has a really bad swath of all male trees that are just constantly shooting their seed into the air,
which is so great.
Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. Yeah. All right, did you have a quote for this week?
I do.
Excellent.
Are you ready for it?
I am ready for it.
Quote, I've died before. It was boring, so I stood up. End quote. Warren Ellis in Moon Knight, Volume 1, From the Dead.
Oh, yeah. Moon Knight's my all-time favorite.
Yes,
superhero.
I like that.
Yeah. Awesome. I love Moon Knight. Moon Knight is actually going to get a television program soon, and they're putting out a version of Unmatched with Moon Knight in it.
Ooh.
So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
I also have Moon Knight in that Marvel United game. That's that cooperative game where you can play as heroes.
I don't know much about Moon Knight. I'm excited to learn about someone new other than,
Somebody who, when I was younger, the reason that I got into Moon Knight is somebody described him to me as Bruce Wayne with an alcohol problem. And I was like, oh, yeah, an alcoholic superhero. That sounds kind of neat. It's not exactly right. But it was enough to get me. Sometimes somebody will just say something, pitch something to you, and you go, oh, that sounds really interesting. I want to look into that more.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I heard about this RPG called End of the World RPG, and I hadn't heard of it before. Or no, I had heard of it before, but I just kind of was like, oh, whatever. I don't care about that, because the marketing for it wasn't that exciting. But this person on TikTok said, the best part about this is you play the game as yourself. So you're role playing as you and what you would do in this scenario. And I was like, fuck, that sounds awesome. Right? Like that made me interested in it. And then I went, look, they're like $190 now because they're out of print too, but whatever. I had like, for the first few years of my board gaming hobby, I was very on top of it. Like if a new thing was coming out, I knew about it. I knew where to go. I knew when it was going to release and where I needed to buy it from. But there was a couple of years where I was having a rough time at my last job, and then trying to find a new job, and then starting this new job, where it just kind of was like, okay, BGG, you need to fall to the wayside. I don't have time for you.
Yeah, you prioritized.
Right. And so I let board games kind of lapse on me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so now I'm hearing about all kinds of stuff that at the time I probably would have bought into if I was in it, right? But I wasn't. And so I was like just ignoring it basically. And now I'm hearing about it. But I think that's the problem for me with board games, is that they don't stay in print very long, right? And so I'm like, oh, I better get it now or else I'll never get it.
Yeah.
Or I'll have to pay $100,000 for it later.
You cannot pay $100,000 for it.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Veto. Okay.
I wouldn't even pay $59 for that RPG.
Okay.
Okay. It was like a $15 book when it first came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So we did the quote of the week. So now let's get into the thing of the week, which is Invincible Part 2.
Part 2. So it's episodes 3 and 4.
We're covering episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah. And I'm
going to let you lead it this time, because last time you did such a good job and I kept interrupting.
No.
Yeah, I didn't. When I listened back to it, I was like, man, I'm a nosy little butthole. I keep saying about all comics this, comics that. Who fucking cares? We're talking about the show.
Yeah. And yes, it's okay. I love you, but I love you. And I hate it when people do that. Like, well, in the comic book, this didn't happen until page 59. So that show can just go You know what I mean?
It was like,
why? I don't care.
It's my favorite superhero comic of all time.
I get
so
that.
I felt like I had to like point out, oh, this isn't exactly how it happens. But after I listened back to it, I was like, oh, Jesus, what a jerk. I'm being like a gatekeeping piece of garbage guy. No, I'm being exactly the comic book guy you don't want to run into. Well, actually, like,
yeah.
So I'm not going to do that this time. We're just going to talk about the show, but you're going to lead it, and I'm just going to pop in and talk, and we're going to chat about it. Okay.
All right. Now, I have to take notes because if I don't, I forget stuff, and then I go, oh, yeah. And then I jump back and forth and all over the place. So I've taken notes in order so that I can keep my own thoughts and stuff straight.
Yeah. I really appreciate that about you.
ADD
I am not a note taker.
In check.
I'm not a note taker.
It's the only way I can remember stuff. I have way too much prioritizing going on in my brain.
I should take notes. For all intents and purposes, I should take notes because I have way too much stuff going on in my life. I have too many hobbies. I have too many jobs. I have too much stuff. And every once in a while, if I really want to make sure I don't forget something, I will text it to myself.
Yeah.
Or I will write it on a
sticky. To text you.
Yeah. Or I'll write it on a sticky note. But for the most part, I just don't take notes, and I don't take extensive notes about anything. Like I'll text myself, Mark Bryant. And then later on, I'll be like, why? Who the fuck is Mark Bryant? And then I Google it and I go, oh, yeah, that's right. But I just give myself like a 2-word clue. And then I got a puzzle to solve later.
4 people are now Googling Mark Bryant.
Oh, I think I even said the wrong last name, but it doesn't matter.
All right. So this dude, episode 3 of Invincible. Okay. All right. So it opens up with a funeral. Okay. And this dude, Nolan,
the Guardians of the Globe.
Yeah.
Funeral?
The Guardians of the Globe, have been murdered. If you don't know, and no one knows who it is.
Right.
But we know as the audience, and I don't know if I like that because then I feel like I'm carrying a heavy secret.
You are carrying a heavy secret.
I want more people to like. I'm just so upset and anxious that nobody else knows but we do.
Yeah.
That Nolan.
It's a rough thing to carry. It's a heavy burden. I keep
forgetting his super name. What's his super name?
Omni-Man.
Yeah. Okay, but he is speaking at this public funeral. And
he's given the eulogy.
Curse awareness. Okay. This motherfucker is feigning sadness and he's choking up like he's, oh man, alive. And so they're saying all the names of the global guardians and he's
Guardians of the Globe.
Sorry, what did I say?
Global Guardians. It's the same thing.
Oh my heavens. They say it a couple of times. They say it different ways.
Yeah, I did it again.
They're saying the names of these guardians and he's faking like sadness and stuff. And you just were like, what is happening? So they have like this public funeral for the public. And then they have a private funeral because no one's supposed to know where the bodies are hidden for like, grave robbing and stuff or whatever, but he's still speaking at their funeral, faking sadness and almost faking a tear, but he's like choking up and acting like a dipstick. Right. I hate it. It's so mean. Anyways, and then so I thought it was Fast Guy. I don't know what his super name is, so I'm just gonna call him Fast Guy.
Okay.
Because he's the generic version of the Flash. So anyway, Fast Guy. I thought it was his mom, but it's not. It's his wife.
Is it his wife or his girlfriend?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I saw them in maybe a wedding picture, so I don't know.
Oh,
anyway.
Okay, it could be his wife.
The lady who loves Fast Guy,
the lady who loves Fast Guy.
She does some weird, I don't know what happened. Everyone grieves differently. I get that.
Right.
But she falls down. It's raining because it's a funeral scene, obviously. And it's raining and everyone's got their umbrellas. And she falls down in the mud and instantly she's splattered with blood or mud. And Deborah, Nolan's wife, she's kind. She's a kind lady and she helps her back up. And I don't know. There's just something very, very sweet about her that I don't think Nolan deserves at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay. So Mark, their son, sees this dynamic of her being sweet and caring to, everyone. And then his dad is like, punching him to like train him up and stuff.
Right.
So he has like two different sides, and he doesn't know which to be, which I find kind of interesting. And like as a superhero.
Well, he's torn, right?
Yeah.
He's torn between having all of this power, like literal invincibility, power, and also having this really strong mother figure that raised him when he didn't have power. You know?
Yeah.
So there's that kind of like that internal battle of, do I give in to the ultimate corruption that is inevitable from having so much power?
Yeah.
Or do I allow my mother's influence over my life and my behavior to rule?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I root for the mother.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Cecil asks Robot, or I guess at the funeral, Cecil asks Robot to build a new Global Guardian team. I don't know how I feel about why is he putting Robot in charge? Because he's very logical and like, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it's just the right choice, but they do have a little banter about, why didn't you choose
why didn't you choose
Omni-Man?
Nolan?
And then Cecil's like, well, he won't do it.
Yeah, because he asked Omni-Man to be part of the Guardians before, and he won't do it.
Bunch of times, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's not gonna. Also, I think at this point, Cecil's starting to maybe suspect that Omni-Man knows more than he's letting on about the whole murders.
Yeah, which was kind of relieving to me because now I'm not the only one holding the secret here.
Right.
So then they get home from the funeral, and Nolan and Deborah are having this, not argument, but they're talking back and forth, and she's like, you just went to your friend's funeral, and he's all coworkers.
Right.
Like, he's very, you can tell, like,
he's
there's
compartmentalizing everything.
He keeps correcting her and everything that she's saying about them because she sees them as equals and friends, and and he doesn't see that. And so that gives us another.
Well, that's something important to understand about Nolan is he doesn't see anyone as his equal.
Yeah.
Not even Deborah.
Yeah, because he kind of almost like tells her what to do, and she's like, nah.
He has the power, has always had the power, and never had a mother influence in his life.
Yeah.
His parents died.
Yeah.
Very
Hear
young.
that, boys? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, you have to have a strong mother and a strong father figure in your life.
Or at least male or female presence.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. I shouldn't say mother and father, but you should have strong parental presences in your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be two. It doesn't have to be male or female. Just people who care, love, nurture, and hold you up, right?
Yeah.
In order for you to not become evil, but in order for you to feel
balanced.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good word.
I think that you do need to have guidance in some way. It doesn't have to be a biological parent. It doesn't even have to be somebody who's older than you.
Yeah.
Like even if you just have like a close friend who's got your six, right? Like people need that. People need community, right?
Yeah.
And they need love and they need unconditional.
But I don't know.
Whatever happens, I'm going to make sure that I'm there for you kind of love.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Some of us fight that though. Because it's uncomfortable.
Specifically,
sometimes.
one of us fights that very hard.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You don't like relying on people because then they could hurt you.
Yeah,
and that makes total sense. That makes total sense. There's nothing wrong with that.
Anyways, we discover that, what's their last name? Grayson?
Grayson's, yeah.
The Grayson family is under surveillance.
You're having a really hard time remembering the names of this show.
I should write these down.
Oh, you didn't write?
No,
so you took a bunch of notes but didn't write any names down.
Yeah, the note is under surveillance.
Oh.
And so we learned that this family is under surveillance.
Yeah.
And no one suspects that, but he doesn't know for sure.
Right.
And so then Mark is occupied calling a girl from school and asks her on a study date, but he's not wanting to study. He's just wanting to like talk to her and whatever. And so while he's on the study date, Eve finds her dipshit cheating boyfriend, yes, with Duplicate.
Yes.
All three of the Kates.
Well, she can Duplicate can make as many copies of herself
as
she wants, as far as I know.
We've only seen 3, I
but
think.
yeah, she's got the 3 copies that are having like a little shower fun time with Rexplode.
Come on.
Who was dating Adam Eve until this moment.
Yeah.
Where he gets
and
caught.
She's just like, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, she's a strong woman, and she's not going to like just put up with some guy mistreating her like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
She's a tough lady.
So then Mark gets called away to go do something, but he leaves the girl in his room, and then he comes back and
he
then
has to go fight a guy at the Mount Rushmore.
Oh, that's right.
With Adam
that's what
Eve,
it is.
And they have a little, flirtiness going on, and they win the day, and then he rushes back, but he's only been gone an hour. But she's waiting for him there.
Yeah.
And they have a little kiss or kissy poo or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He ran off to fight Doc Seismic, who was actually speaking some truth about Mount Rushmore, and he was wearing.
Oh yeah. No, he's very like.
He was like, "Do you know who these
justice warrior?"
Yeah. He's like, "Do you know who these people were? They were racist. They were slave owners."
Yeah.
And
I actually like that, but then he's the bad guy.
Yeah. Why is he the bad guy? That's what I want to know.
Well, because he's causing a lot of destruction.
Yeah, I guess.
Right.
He's like an earthbender, if you know what that is. And then he's wearing earthquake bracelets.
Yeah.
Eve and Mark nickname him, and he looks really old. And he falls in the lava. And then they fly back to where, Mark flies back to the house.
He punched the ground open, and so it's split, and there's lava in there, and so he went down in there.
Yeah.
And this is the point where we really get to see Eve's powers on display. She's got this like purple, almost like magic.
Yeah, barrier.
Barriers and
force
stuff.
field.
Yeah.
Then Robot has tryouts to make a new team.
Yep.
Nolan does not want Mark to be in this new team. So he follows his dad's orders. He says not to, but he's still like curious as to what's going on. And so he's there, but he's not.
Yeah, he wants Mark to fly solo like he does.
Mm-hmm, yeah. I wonder why. And then, but everyone is like, they announced the new team. I didn't write down the new team, but they announced the new team. And
who's on the team? You
yeah,
mean?
Who's on the team?
Rexplode, Monster Girl, Adam Eve. Oh, I can't remember the last 2. There's 2 more.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
But then there's no teamwork. They all get in a fight and then they walk off away from each other. So it's really not like a cohesive, let's make this work kind of thing yet either.
Well, first, Rexplode gets into a fist fight with Monster Girl because he's really rude to her.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have a fight, and Invincible stops the fight, but he punches Monster Girl when she's in monster form, which turns her back into girl form, and everybody else goes, "Oh my God, Invincible punched that little girl."
Which we find something very interesting is that every time she transforms, she gets younger when she transforms back.
Yep.
So she's a 24-year-old woman, but she's in like a 12-year-old body because she's transformed so much. And Robot like expects 3 workouts a day or whatever. And she's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to end up being a baby.
Yeah. I just want to change my diapers.
And he's like, I didn't know. She's like, yeah, okay. Well, it's stupid. So then there's, then it shows us some sort of facility, and there's a guy serving inmates pot pies, and I was like, "Ooh, I want a pot pie," but we don't have any pot pies. And then someone in the control room, they don't show who yet, opened the door of the food dispensing and gets Pete, the guy who's serving the pot pies, knocked out, and then this big blue dude escapes, and he takes his clone with him. And they're like giving each other shit about, you're the clone, no, you're the clone, and being jerks to each other.
They constantly fight about who's the original.
Yeah, who's the original. And then all of a sudden, they're out in the desert. They got out of the facility, and they're out in the desert. And then the one guy just turns and beats the ever-loving crap out of his clone, I guess we'll say. And then he runs away. He's like, I can just make another. I'm like, okay, this is that easy. And then it shows us that Robot is the one that was in the control room. He's the one that let the big dudes out.
Yep.
And then it shows us that Cecil knew. Cecil knows this.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. And then the almost the after credit scene, I guess, is what we'll call this. Damien Darkblood who's like the Hellboy creature, who I kind of dig because he's like, he's a demon, but he's, you know, he's
from hell.
Yeah,
and
from
you love
hell. I like hell. I know hell.
Yeah.
He pays a visit to Deborah.
Right.
And he tells Deborah, I'm suspicious of Nolan. I am pretty sure he killed them, the Guardians. But then Nolan comes in and he's gone, like he vanishes.
Right.
So Nolan doesn't catch him there, but Nolan suspects that someone was there.
Yeah.
But Deborah doesn't say who it was. So she's starting to have her own suspicions too. Because she's like, you're weird, and you know, you've been weird since the Guardians and stuff. So that's the end of episode 3.
He is acting differently from her point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, because everything was all like hunky dory, and now all of a sudden he's hiding things. He doesn't remember things.
He's being more terse and short with her. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
Those
you
are
know,
the same. Those
having a temper, and now he's training Mark, and now he's being too rough, and
right.
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah. So what did you think of that episode?
It leaves me with more questions, but I'm glad that Damien Darkblood is on the case. I'm glad about it.
Yeah, but this is the problem, right? Even if somebody finds out what he did, how are they going to stop him?
Yeah, that's the next thing.
Right. So it doesn't even matter. Like Deborah finds out, or Mark finds out, or Cecil finds out for sure, or everyone. They can't stop him.
He took out a whole other dimension.
Right. We already seen that, right?
Yeah.
He's not. He killed all the Guardians of the Globe single-handedly.
Like 6 seconds.
Yeah. There's no one on the planet that can stop him. So what difference does it even make?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why he's even hiding it at this point.
Right.
I'm trying to talk like I don't know what's actually happens in the future.
But on one hand, maybe he cares what his family thinks.
I think in some way,
because he's talking a lot of shit to Cecil now,
right?
And to whoever talks to him, but to Deborah, he's still trying to like romance her and be sweet with her and stuff. And Mark, he's trying to like, you know, follow me, do what I do. I'm successful. This is, you know.
I think in some way he does care about them, but I also think that he would kill them.
Ooh.
In a second if it didn't fit what he needed.
Yikes.
Yeah. So that's episode 3. What about episode 4?
All right, my lordy. Okay. So episode 4 opens in the desert. And
in the desert?
The desert.
Ah.
And it shows that this group of people are excavating something. And of course it wakes up some mummy thing. And then but then it really doesn't show what happens after that, right?
No,
it doesn't. They just wake up some mummy glowing thing.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't tell us anything, and it cuts to Mark and Nolan, and they're race flying to Mount Everest.
Yes.
First one to Mount Everest takes out the trash.
Right.
And Deborah and Fast Man's lady, Olga.
Do you want me to tell you the real name of
Fast
Man?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Red Rush.
Red Rush. Okay. I should write this down. Anyways, they're visiting each other.
Right.
And Olga she's pissed and she wants to move back to Russia. So she's wanting Deborah to sell her house for her.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And Deborah is a real estate agent, and she loves her job, and she has like a knack for selling houses that something bad happened in them anyways. And so she doesn't really mind a big deal about it, but it's still, she considers these people her friends. And so she's kind of sad, and she's wondering like, why is she so mad about the whole thing?
Right.
And when she gets back home, it's just her. She's by herself in the dark. And then she looks up Damien Darkblood on her computer, and a bunch of things pop up that he's a truth seeker, and he's uncovered the truth about lots of other things. So she's trying to look into him to see if he's legit, I think. Right.
Yeah. I mean, she's just trying to find out who he is because she'd never met him before that point.
Yeah.
When he showed up in her house.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants to see like, oh, okay, is there any weight to what he said to me?
Yeah. And the fact that
she's investigating now, because now she's starting to sense that something's off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the fact that she didn't say that he was in the kitchen before to Nolan kind of proves something, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe he would have gotten mad at her for even talking to Damien. All right. So then Nolan confronts Damien Darkblood. He just comes out and says, like, Damien just comes out and says, I know you killed them. And Nolan's being a doof about it.
He confronts Nolan.
Yeah.
But Nolan's not going to just admit it to Damien.
Yeah, but Nolan, he doesn't deny it either.
Well, he doesn't have to.
Yeah, he's just being a dick to him.
Well, he's doing the thing you should do if you ever get questioned by the police.
Yeah, you don't talk to the police.
Yeah. You don't give them anything.
You don't say a word.
Yep.
Other than lawyer.
Yep.
You don't say a word. So it just keeps jumping all over the place. Okay, so then it jumps to the blue guy, the escaped big blue guy.
Yep.
And he finds a hideout and he starts building something right away, Tony Stark style.
Yeah, so those guys are geniuses, first of all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They didn't say that.
No, they don't really say that in the show, do they?
But he starts building something and he drills. He just out of nowhere, man. Okay, he just takes, what's that called? You took wood shop. What's that? It's a drill press.
Yeah, drill press.
He just sits down and he puts his arm under the drill press and he just drills a hole into his arm.
Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't.
He's getting a DNA core.
Yeah, and he just starts cloning himself out of this contraption thing that he's made.
Mm-hmm.
And watching on a surveillance screen somewhere, robot again is just watching him.
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm stressed out about it.
Yeah.
Like why did robot let him out just to let him and watch him clone things?
I don't know. We'll probably find out in the next episode, though.
Oh my heavens, I need a breather. Okay.
We should make it clear that we are watching 2 episodes and then doing an episode of this show.
I don't know.
We haven't watched the next 2 episodes yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like we're just discovering this stuff out.
Yep.
And then while the tryouts are happening, or no, not the tryouts. Let me see. Oh, they're practicing. The new Guardians are practicing.
Mm.
Robot, he like goes up to Rex and he puts his hand on his shoulder or something and he takes blood from him.
Yeah.
Without Rex really even knowing.
Yeah, he takes some blood from Rex.
Why?
I'm sure we'll find out in the next episode.
Is he going to clone him? Like, come on, what's happening?
I actually don't know.
Yes, you have to know. You do know, you shit.
I'll know when you know in the next episode.
Well, I'll never know.
You're not going to watch any more?
I'm going to watch it.
Oh, okay.
Of course I'm going to watch it.
Okay.
All right. So then Nolan and Deborah are talking about her liking her work. And he's kind of being a butthead about it, as usual.
Because he doesn't want her to help Olga sell the house.
Yeah. He's like, why do you even care? And she's like, these are our friends. And then all of a sudden, he grabs Cecil by the neck and nearly takes his head off. Mm-hmm. But Cecil is like trying to send Nolan to Mars.
This is when we find out that Cecil can teleport wherever he wants.
Yes. And it's not an exact science.
He's lying.
Oh, damn it.
It's an exact science. It's not a spoiler. Cecil is not the kind of guy to show his whole hand.
Yeah, I think he's trying to throw Nolan off of his game a little bit and be unpredictable about certain things.
Yeah.
And Nolan doesn't like let him go right away either. Mm-mm. He thinks about it for a minute.
Oh, of course. Yeah. He hates Cecil.
It's so weird. Okay.
They're trying to make you think that Cecil isn't on the up and up either.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cecil has a lot to hide too with this robot deal too. Yeah.
I've always chalked it up to like during the show, like maybe it's because he's like a government official, so he's just being secretive, but there might be something deeper there. It might not be. Yeah.
All right. So he wants Nolan to go to Mars.
Yep.
And support the astronauts going there.
That are going to Mars. Yep.
But Mark hears about it and Mark volunteers.
Because Nolan refuses.
Yeah, Nolan's all, nah.
Not doing it, yeah.
And we find out in a little bit that it's because Cecil wanted to get Nolan off planet to investigate him.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, finally, thank you. So Cecil thinks Nolan did it, but he can't come out and say it yet because he doesn't have any proof.
Right.
He just has suspicions. So he wants Nolan off planet so that he can investigate him. Mm-hmm. But Mark volunteers because, again, Mark is a good kid. He's a good guy. And he's like, I'll do it.
Right.
Like more practice. And if we need to help, then we should help. Exactly. And his mom gives him like, you need to find out what you want to use your powers for.
Yeah, she says something along the lines of, there's going to be a lot of people that tell you how to use your powers, but you have to decide what's right for you.
Yeah.
Which is good mom advice, good parent advice.
Yeah. Something that not everyone has. So, so I guess during that time, Mark goes on a second date with Amber from school. And now he's volunteering to go on a 2-week mission to Mars. And so he's like, I'm going to go, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Helping
And
people.
she's like playing it real cool. So she said something like, I think you've earned, or I think you've banked 2 weeks of waiting time. And then as he's walking away, she goes, maybe 3.
Yeah, she is playing it cool. And so Cecil wanted to get Nolan to go, but because Mark is going, he's like, well, now we can see what this kid's capable of.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do. So Mark hitches a ride on the rocket to Mars on this mission. And he's trying not to be seen by the astronauts. He's just supposed to be a supporting role. Right. But he's bored and he starts to nod off while he's sitting on the back of the spaceship.
Yeah. Because it's a long trip.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they're on the planet. And again, he's bored and I think that's when he starts to fall asleep, is when he's on the planet.
Yeah, I think that's when.
And he kind of wakes up and he checks the astronauts again and they're gone.
Right.
But then there's some tracks. Yep. So he follows the tracks and then it cuts to Nolan and Debbie. And Nolan suggests, why don't we fly somewhere? Why don't we go? It's just you and me. And he's trying to romance her and get her back into his, get her back to being wrapped up about him again, I think.
Yeah, he's trying to
romance her.
Bring her back into his trance, or
that's a good word. Yeah, trance. He's trying to
not that he's actually has a spell on her or something, just that she's always been enamored with him. Yeah. But now he can feel that she's starting to feel a little suspicious. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to wrap her back up, wrap her back around his finger. Yeah.
So he flies her to Rome. And something very telling happens. They're sitting at this cafe and she's like, you've been different. And he's like, well, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, a dragon attacks the city that they're in, Rome.
Lots of all of a suddens happening in this episode.
I know. Yeah. So out of nowhere, a dragon attacks and he's just sitting there like he is expecting it to happen. And he's expecting her her answer to his question. And she's like, there's a dragon. He's just like, and what is your answer? Like he's like, I'll let Cecil handle it. Yeah. Let him earn a paycheck. So he's not willing to just be helpful and to be of service to this planet, right? As one would think a super person, right?
Well, the part about that scene that got me was what he was like, do you trust me? Yeah. And then she said, yes. And he says, you don't know how good it is to hear you say that. Like almost like he was going to kill her if she said otherwise. Oh, right.
See, I didn't even get that.
And then she's all, now help about the dragon. And then that's when he's like, oh, let Cecil collect a paycheck. I'm on vacation.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's borderline psychopathic, but it's still not like, if you don't know what he did, it's still, you're still like, oh, what's going on?
It's not crossing a line, but it's going right to it every time. Right on the line. He's like, say what I want to hear, or and which is just the creepiest thing.
Yeah, he's very manipulative.
Yeah. While they're in Rome, Damien Darkblood comes back again and he's snooping through the house for clues. Right. And then Cecil pops in with people with guns and he arrests him, I guess, Damien. For lack of a better word. Yeah, arrests Damien Darkblood. Yep. And then it goes back to Mark. And Mark follows the tracks on Mars, and then there's a windstorm, and he gets attacked by little sucky things that we find out are called sequids. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Sequids. All right. And then he finds an underground tunnel, and he runs into Martians. Right. And they have the astronauts. But then I don't know what happened. So the Martians tell Mark about the sucky things. Right. And that they're taking over. Yes. And then Mark flies the astronauts off the planet.
Well, no, the Martians say that
I might have fallen asleep during this part. Just
the Martians say that if a sequid gets into a human being, then they just spread, and that they can't allow that to happen. And so they're going to kill the astronauts.
So it's like body snatchers?
Yeah, similar.
Kind of a thing?
And Mark's like, oh, okay. And then Mark busts them out, and they run to get back to the ship, and then they fly off, right? And then while they're flying back, the astronauts are talking, and one of the astronauts says something, and then you can see like a movement in its eyes.
And then the patch on his
patch rearranges,
suit. Yeah, the patch rearranges into the American flag.
Right.
And also the kitty cat was on my chest, so she's purring in my ear. I probably fell asleep for a second. Yeah, and then Cecil arrests Darkblood.
That happened before the Martian thing.
Right, exactly. So he's being arrested, and then somehow he's being framed. There's just little things popping up that Cecil is finding that frames Damien.
Right.
And then he ends up exorcising him.
Yep.
Causing him to go back to hell.
Right.
Because he is a demon. And then Cecil says he needs to keep him out of the way so he can figure out why Nolan killed the Guardians. That's what he has said.
Right.
I need Damien out of the way so I can figure this out.
Yeah.
So thankfully Cecil knows now.
Right.
Doesn't know, but he's trying to keep everybody to shut the hell up.
No, I think he knows.
So now at the end of this episode, the little after credit scene is Robot kneels to some gross mutant baby thing in a tank. And then Darkblood might be in Debbie's closet because Debbie goes in the closet to grab a purse or something. And then we hear Damien Darkblood breathing.
Yep.
Okay. So what the hell is this? My eyes have seen some things, so I can bring you all this story.
You also missed the part where when they're escaping from Mars, the Martians look up and find that there's an astronaut with sequids all over him.
Oh. So the astronaut that is him, that's in the shuttle is not
the real human being.
Oh, mercy.
The real human being has already been attacked by the sequids, and they made a copy of him to send back to Earth so they can infect the Earth.
Oh man, you know what I mean? Just
And they can't infect Mark because Mark is not an Earthling.
He's invincible.
Well, no, he's not an Earthling.
Right.
So they can't get into those Viltrumites.
I don't know this story.
It's really cool.
It's wild.
I will say one thing about it versus a comic book is they are accelerating the story.
Yes.
On the show.
But I think you kind of have to.
Yeah, I think you have to. Because especially if they don't know how many seasons they'll get, it'd be nice to at least close an arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the arc of this one? Nolan?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, blah.
You're going to have to watch there's 4 more episodes total.
Oh, man.
And then the season's over.
Whew. All right. Stay tuned for part 3, I guess. Gosh.
Are you liking the show so far?
Yes.
Right.
But I got to learn these names better. What's it? Red Rush. Okay, I got it. You were having a real hard time with that one. I got this. Well, because they're generic knockoffs of the Marvel and the DC people.
Yeah.
Like I've heard of Flash forever, right? I haven't heard of Red Rush. That sounds like, a teen movie.
It sounds like the GoBot version of the Justice League.
Poor GoBots.
The sad part is the GoBots came out first, technically.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thank you for talking about Invincible with me again.
Did I do an okay job? Because I feel like I was more out there this time. Like Kitty put me to sleep kind of thing. I think for like a few minutes because I didn't miss that astronaut part. All I saw was the flag rearrange itself. I'm all, what just happened?
I didn't realize that you had dozed off a little bit, but yeah, that's what happens when the cat lays on you.
Yeah, it's like you fall asleep for a minute.
I did. What happened? Saoirse got on my lap a few months ago, and I just went, just conked out like almost immediately.
I don't know. It's like their little warm bodies, and then they're just like cuddly.
It's something about them.
Yeah, get yourself a cat. I wish she'd lay on my chest all the time, and that way I wouldn't have insomnia. That'd be fun.
No, you don't wish that, do you?
Kinda. But then you remember that movie when we were kids?
Yeah, where the cat
took the breath away of a baby or something, or a little kid.
Little kid, yeah.
What was that movie?
I don't remember the name of it, but that was freaky.
Oh,
I don't like that. And I believe cats do that.
They take no, you don't believe that.
I believe it 100%.
I believe as
Can you hear how smug I sound? I believe it 100%.
100%. Oh my heavens! I believe the cats absorb bad energy too, which is why she sits on my chest all the time.
Not so much cats.
Kittens are great.
Cats, not
Cats,
so much.
I don't know.
It's like we call them kittens because they're adorable and kittens adorable. But when they get older, we call them cats. We should call them assholes because that's how the most of them act. I've actually heard tale. I've heard tale of nice cats, of cats that people are nice to their owners, but I've never experienced one of those cats. Every cat I've ever owned has grown into an old bastard.
Yeah, but they're cute.
Yeah, they're cute.
And they purr.
You know what else is cute?
Like, just listen to that for 40 minutes.
Purring is fun.
I gotta take notes, cat.
And Dolly purrs loud.
Yeah.
Loud.
Yeah. She's I'm like, oh.
You know what else is cute?
What?
You are.
Ew.
I love you.
I love you too. Sinner.
The Lou and Me podcast is a Matthias production. The song is No Carpets by the New Forevers. Produced and edited by Moose. Hosted by Lou and me.
Thanks for listening.